Hey guys, it's Chelsa Messenger with Picks and Parlays. We're talking hockey, headed to the NHL, where Colorado heads to Los Angeles. It may be cold outside, but our promo code is HOT for 20% off the entire site at picksandparlays.net. The Avalanche, big favorites in this one, minus 230. The total is 5.5. Colorado is 1-1 on the season. Meanwhile, the Kings have lost 2 games in overtime. We've got Nick from the Insider's Room to break this one all down for us and maybe look at some interesting ways to play this one. Nick, what stands out to you when you see these two teams matched up?
Well, not only just these two teams, but just the entire season itself, it's turning out to be quite interesting because of the way the whole COVID situation, etc. Teams are having to play each other sort of back to back. Even Montreal will be in Vancouver for 3 straight games. So, as primarily a situational handicapper, this season is definitely shaping up to be an interesting one. Motivation, it really does come into play on an almost nightly basis when teams are seeing each other twice in a row like that. So, yeah, from a situational standpoint, I think this one definitely sets up as a lower scoring contest between the Avalanche and the Kings. So, these teams are going to play 2 straight in LA. The next game comes on Thursday night. The Kings have opened up the season, as you mentioned, 0-2, but it certainly wasn't from a lack of trying. They're off consecutive 4-3 overtime losses at home to Minnesota. Both totals flew well over the posted number of 5.5, but the Kings, they're now desperate here. They're looking to finally break into the winner's circle here, and so LA is going to be ultra focused with the Avalanche coming to town. You mentioned they're 1-1. They lost the first game at home, they lost the first game at home 4-1 to the Blues, but then they bounced back with a crazy 8-0 win in the second game. When you see there's only a handful of completely lopsided games like that per season. And so I don't foresee the Avalanche repeating that sort of offensive outburst 2 games in a row. And I'll point out, Chelsea, it's also really interesting to note Colorado has seen the total go under the number in 8 of its last 11 road games after scoring 6 or more goals in a win in its last outing. And so for me, it doesn't matter who's going to be in net here. This one is based upon the situation and that strong trend I just pointed out there. So yeah, each team has played to some higher scoring affairs to open up the year, Chelsea. But to me, everything points to a lower scoring game. And so that's going to be my play on this one. I like the under. And as you mentioned, I do have an interesting suggestion on the side here as well.
Yeah, so go for it. Let's see how you will wrap this one up for us.
Right. I mean, Colorado, it looked great in that 8-0 win, but it looked really shaky in that 4-1 loss. Now it faces this Kings team who did, I mean, if a lucky bounce here or there, it could be 2-0 and the Kings coming in. And so I'm not going to suggest playing the Kings on the money line, but I'm going to suggest perhaps taking them on the puck line. That's a reasonable line, right around minus 130 or minus 140. So yeah, as I say, they just took Minnesota twice to overtime. So if it goes to the overtime and you have the puck line, you have plus 1.5 goals. That means you've won your bet automatically if it just goes to overtime. And so yeah, they've proven that they can compete. So if you don't mind laying around the minus 140 price, you're going to get that extra 1.5 goals of insurance. And so I think that's a pretty solid wager if you're going to play the side here.
All right, that's going to do it for our hockey talk. A great insight, as always, from Nick from the Insider's Room. As always, Nick, thanks for joining us.